It is Monday. We're back in the best ball streets. Tyler, it has been too long since two of us were here on a Monday in the Underdog streets. How you doing, my man?
Doing well, Tom. How are you doing, man? Good to see you again. Feels right at home with you back in my wing.
Yes, it feels good. And we've not got many of these left, so we've got to make the most of them. And look, definitely since the last time we were doing a Monday show, things have dramatically changed. And there's constantly things changing. And it feels right to start with our cover boy on the thumbnail. Jacory, like as many people are just calling him, Bill. How are you coping with him at the minute? How far are you willing to push him up in ADP? Because the latest news is that Brian Robinson isn't even going to play in the Commanders game against the Bengals tonight, whilst the two sides decide on what to do about a potential trade. Like sometimes we get these situations and it's like, okay, well, this is rubbish, but this really feels like there is some movement to it.
Yeah, I mean, so before we get today's news, it's like, yeah, I'm taking Jacory probably in like the 160s, 150s, 140s if necessary, like right around like the Jaden Blue, Tootin range of like, interesting rookie. If he's already like pushing for RB3 and I'm kind of fading the more expensive B-Rob and he's got some juice, seems like the type of guy to hit. And then we get like the rumor about the cut. I don't really buy that too much. And and then Schultz drops that bomb and it's like, okay, this is very legitimate. Time to boost him into like, the Ramondre range of like, potential very impactful RB, 1A, 1B type of thing on a potential top 5 offense with Cliff Kingsbury, goal line roll, a lot of juice. This is interesting. And then now, B-Rob's not going to play. Another fun tidbit that dropped a couple hours ago was a local some local radio guys saying that basically leaking hey, this staff in this organization was not into B-Rob at all last year, especially down the stretch. Yeah. Essentially just saying like they did not like how they handled him or how he handled himself and how things went, how he played, any of that. They've been out on him for a while now. This is a long time coming, which to me legitimizes the, cut trade bubble rumor earlier. And so now I think there's no reason not to slam this guy above your speculative handcuffs, your Scatterbo, your Charbonnet range. Like that seems very justified. And if he ends up just taking the spot of Brian Robinson, who's going, around like anywhere from pick 80 to 89, it's hard to say no to that if everything we know to be true. It seems like the team is being as public as possible. And I don't remember the last time a team was this public about like, especially this close to the season about like, we have no interest in keeping him around and doing this thing. So, considering that he's not been drafted in every single BBM since it's opened, considering this is the type of thing that, risers never rise high enough, fallers never fall low enough. And, shout out to Ron Stewart, who made the very like one-to-one connection about like, Pacheco. We got similar types of smoke and hype about this, 5th round draft pick that, we didn't know how to feel about his college profile attached to a good offense. And, he's a phenomenal pick. And so it's like, this is the time to just completely let go of the priors, I really think, and adjust to what we're hearing, what we're seeing. And also just like as a type of bet, like this is, I think what people kind of forget as these guys are rising, we're also finding out how many fragile bets are just straight up bad. Like we thought were bad clicks or might be bad clicks, might have outs. We're losing these guys every day. It's the speculative RBs, the fake, comfy, safe wide receiver clicks. Like those guys are dying on the vine every day, every week, whether it's injury or, camp battle or whatever. So it's like there's less and less good clicks on the board to begin with as it stands, let alone the like, could I live with myself if, as a news hound, if I'm getting all this information and I just decide to ignore it because reasons? To me, it doesn't make any sense to do that. And I think the likelihood you're punished for it seems low, just given what we know and how aggressively it's come at us, in the last 72 hours.
I think your point on Pacheco is something that's worth mentioning because something I just discussed on Fantasy Pros Best Ball show, what I was doing was this thing where people, when they miss out on low value players, there's this propensity to kind of be stuck to your priors and be saying, okay, well, that player's flawed. And we still see this with Chase Brown. We still see it with Bucky Irving. We still see it with Kyron Williams. And I'm not saying those players don't have flaws, but the detractors, the people who can't get past the fact that these players have immediate value for us, they seem stuck on it to a point where it's like, if you only focus on the negative, what you're seeing is not the fact that, okay, well, yes, this is a guy who wasn't worth a third round pick or a fourth round pick in the NFL draft. But right now, he's got a clear value to us and is going to give us potential volume definitely above where we're paying for him. And there will come a point potentially where we don't want to do it. I mean, you go back to the year J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards both tore their ACLs. And I can't remember the guy's name now. There was a running back for the Ravens who everybody chased up seriously high into like the 6th round. And obviously it just wasn't even worth it. Like, he barely played, and they ended up having like a combination of Devonta Freeman, Le'Veon Bell, and all these other kind of washed running backs. And Latavius Murray turned out to be the best running back on the team. So there does come a point where you want to stop it. But I think for now, and until we kind of get to that point where we're talking about, like, is this a guy that's now going above Jaden Blue? I'm quite comfortable taking Big Bill and just seeing where the chips fall. Like, if you're with us watching in the chat, I'd love to know where you guys kind of max out on where you'd be willing to take him. Yeah, Robert Griffith saying JCM is an L. I have to eat this. Yeah, it's going to be an L, which, yeah, a bunch of us have to take, not having late exposure. But Tyler, what's kind of stood out for you amongst a busy weekend apart from that? How are you feeling about the Texans running back situation?
I mean, so yeah, I know we talked about it a little bit, and I've been talking about all like the solo stuff on Twitter, on the Discords, and ultimately this was information the last, if we go all the way back to April when we got whispers of a walking boot and he wasn't out of it. And then when he was out of it, it was still like an ankle brace. He still wasn't practicing. He's yet to practice. And then we get, a couple weeks ago, we get news that, they don't know when he's going to be back, and they're just being careful with it. And the week before the season starts, they will reevaluate and check it out and see from there. That sounded like a strong avoid, much like the CMC stuff, except without any of the rosy, it'll definitely be fine language that led some of us to be like, well, maybe it'll be fine. And then in the last day, in fact, I think just a couple hours ago, it looks like the local beat shared, I believe it was Aaron Wilson, who's broken a lot of this stuff to us. The Texans finally acknowledged, like last week, that this is an ankle and foot thing. He's had ankle feet things in his entire history, including, I believe, like a Liz Frank. And it seemed like season-ending surgery was potentially on the table from the tea leaf reading that the docs and stuff were taking in. But anyway, Aaron Wilson today basically says the expectation right now is Mixon starts out on the NFI list for season 1, and week 1 is very much in doubt. So, considering that they've been full steam ahead with Chubb and Dameon Pierce is mixing in and Woody Marks is mixing in, it just seems like this is a pain tolerance and surgery type of thing. And the re-injury risk for this is really bad. It's an injury that, according to the docs, is likely to impede his physical performance and efficiency, which, we've seen when his efficiency is, dinged behind a not elite offensive line, that's an issue. And so I wasn't touching him in the top 100. I wasn't slurping up the dip as many were. I had my 9% in the 5th and 6th round, and I accepted that L, and I decided that unless we got extremely good news at any point, I wouldn't be back in. And now I expect him to continue to fall with this late news, and I don't know that he'll fall far enough to make it worthwhile, considering that this might just be a completely lost season. Kind of like how we've seen running backs with bad injuries go in and try to play through it if they don't, shut it down for the year. And, we don't want dead roster spots. And at a certain point, like, it doesn't make sense to chase. I think that the needle of the thread to make him a good pick, which is essentially, being live more weeks than not, and especially in the fantasy playoffs, that all is very much in doubt given his age and the injury we've heard. And right now I'm basically taking shots on every other Houston back except for him. And there might be another back that comes into this room depending on how the staff feels about the guys currently in tow.
I think part of it as well is like what made him so good last year was just sheer volume. Like we know he wasn't overly efficient. And then if you're going to say maybe just not even one guy, but two guys can eat into that workload, then all of a sudden that starts becoming much more difficult to sell. Like now you're talking about an inefficient guy stuck in a committee. It's not amazing, particularly when you've got guys like Woody Marks who are good pass catchers. Like it'd be one thing if Joe Mixon had a real elite trait at this point in his career, but kind of volume was the one thing that was going for him, and the fact that the Texans seem to believe in him so much. So yeah, I've definitely passed him up in a number of drafts over the last week or so. But the Nick Chubb one is one where it's just like, fine. I mean, we've got enough reports where he didn't sound great, but I'm completely fine with him. But let's talk more about like the hype side of it before we end up getting into a draft in a little bit. But let's talk Trevion Henderson. Like we just seem to get moment after moment from him, admittedly in these preseason games. And we've got Ian Hart coming on to the channel this week. And me and him, we're going to go through the most fun fantasy picks. And as part of that, me and Ian put together a list of, I think it was almost 30 players. And I put it in our Discord for our Discord users, which you can be part of if you have the join button down below, to vote on the top 10 of those 30 players. And I'm not going to be surprising anyone when I say Trevion Henderson was the most voted for person. So he will be the number one player in that list. Like the hype has built quickly on this man.
Yeah, I mean, pass catching running back attached to an offense that we expected to get better is a guy that's very exciting. It's unfortunate that he's rising for kind of the dumb reasons of just like making big plays in the preseason. No FUD about his usage, which is unfortunate because his price was awesome. But like, yeah, I mean, it's just his competition is Ramondre, who has a fumbling problem. And this is just a guy that, pass catching guy. The irony is that Harvey's not rising nearly as fast as Henderson is. And I think that's just priors about not trusting Sean Payton and like not trusting the antics, but all the signs point to these rookie pass catchers with strong draft capital attached to good to great offenses are definite buys. And it's made it very, very interesting to play not taking running back in the first round. But we are on the clock here, Tom, as our BBM fills quicker than expected. Bijan, CeeDee Lamb, Gibbs, Barkley. What do you want to do here at 2?
I'm fine with Bijan or CD. I think Saquon, obviously we've been against the fade all off season, but it's more the convictions I have about both CD and Robinson at this point. I'd rather gamble on them. And CD in particular, I'm glad that you took him.
Yeah, and so one of the things that my thinking through is you had a really great video on the channel about hero wide receiver and how underutilized it is with our type of sharp field, quote unquote, but how to supercharge it. And to me, these rookie running backs are getting pretty good, in large part, pretty good, ambiguous or full runway steam ahead types of things. And these are guys to buy. These are options opening up. So and they're still too cheap. And so I feel like now is the time to definitely grab your early receiver with a lot of volume and a high ceiling early, and then hammer these running backs that are available in the mid to late rounds. And then just, basically trusting you got it right. And you've got some good shots to take. I have no issues with Bijan. I like Bijan plenty. But for intensive purposes, it's just I'm playing around with builds, and lately I'm enjoying either hammering running back early to then just play catch up at wide receiver, attacking these year 1, year 2 guys, some of the cheap veterans, or the opposite, which is attacking these very strong running back profiles that still haven't risen high enough. And looking at this room, I see some names that we're definitely gonna have to be on our ones and twos about reaching for these guys to chase that. But it's definitely and the Genty fall still is very funny because like people were letting him fall because of the early season carry stuff, and now that he gets his touchdown and he trucks a guy, we're not afraid of it anymore. So it's definitely silly season with what we care about and what we don't care about in draft rooms.
Yeah. I mean, and the Puka fall's been interesting. Like that was something which, like, I thought that maybe he'd start rising back up further than he did. Obviously, going here at 112. Like I just did a DraftKings draft where we took him at 111 and then paired him with Drake London, and being able to get access to those kind of things, and then just try to find different builds that you can put them in. That's where advantages lie at this point. We got one pick before us, and then we'll be back on the clock. Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, Bucky falling a little bit here to us, like a couple of spots. Any interest?
To hammer some Bucky.
Yeah, I'm very good with that. I mean, the point about like hero wide receiver, I got a couple of people on Twitter saying, this isn't like this isn't a hero build, because the way I'd kind of structured it was one wide receiver in round 1 and then no more wide receivers till round 4. And people are like, well, you're not really going with the hero profile in the same way as running back where you push to like round 6. But with wide receiver, I just don't think you can push as far as that because we start more wide receivers. So yeah, what we've got in front of us, I like a good chunk of this. I think Amari and Hampton would be fine. T. Higgins definitely more than fine. And I'm happy with the elite quarterbacks. Tyler, where do you want to go?
Let's get some rookie running back in Hampton. It's like I'm still a little spooked after Rashawn Slater is lost for the season. I'm worried about how they're going to fill that out. The small sample we got without Slater on the Chargers offensive line last year wasn't super promising. All that said, we're getting news that Najee is unsurprisingly not expected ready for week 1. Despite Greg Roman's comments about rotating backs, I don't think this team can afford to rotate Hampton out for the likes of Kamani Vidal or Raheem Sanders for too many touches.
Or Nyheim Hines.
Or Nyheim Hines. So at this point, it's like, are we a little bit concerned about the offensive line without Rashawn Slater for the season? Yes. Am I a little concerned about Hampton's pass catching upside in a Greg Roman offense? Yes. All that said, his biggest block hasn't played football in quite a while, may not play football for quite a while, leaving him the runway to get more consolidated work than maybe he would have 2 months ago. And I believe Adam Levitan shared it earlier today, just pointing out that, like, hey, when they lost one of their running backs in this rotation that they trusted, they were one of the highest pass rate over expected teams in the league. And so, how you can satisfy a few of those things, run more pass plays, and more pass plays allows Hampton to potentially get more passes, allows them to play more up tempo. And maybe that, that allows the offense to just run more plays and be a little bit more efficient than if they were ground and pounding anyway. Hampton's still one of the more explosive backs in this class. And thinking through week 17, plays Houston. So it's still an offense I want pieces of. I don't want to be too afraid of it. And I'm really tempted to build a hero wide receiver build with you, considering, we're getting Bucky Irving with pass catching upside, potentially without Rachaad White as a block early on, even though it sounds like he may be okay for week 1. The staff pretty much told us they want to, they said it back a few months ago. They said it about a month ago. I'm like, hey, we'd love for Bucky to pick up where he left off, which was seeing lion's share of the work in both phases of the game. And it seems like the Wirfs injury is expected to be closer to the 4 to 6 week range than the 6 to 10 week range that was possible, which I think is bullish for mid to late season push for teams. And even if Wirfs isn't out there, Bucky Irving's pass catching allows him to be very strong. Sounds like Godwin may miss week 1 and maybe the first 4 weeks. McMillan may miss a week or a few with that injury. Yeah. It's becoming very clear this could be very consolidated to Mike Evans, Emeka Egbuka, and Bucky Irving via the pass game, with a pass coordinator that utilizes running backs in the pass, and those all just have my ears perked up and ready to hit the smash draft button on all those guys, especially guys like Bucky, who just, they have really enticing upsides.
Yeah. Okay, so
oh my god,
Terry McLaurin just went. I assume they're trying to push Jaden Daniels around the corner, but look, if that falls to us, there's no way that we're letting a 10-pick slide.
Fantastic.
And this is something I talked about in the hero wide receiver builds. It's like, you juice it with a quarterback who hits in a good way, and all of a sudden it just really can take it to the next level. Like the wide receivers at this range: DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, Travis Hunter. Look, I got to smash Calvin Ridley here if you're happy with it. Like, that's just, it's too good.
Like, we've been very good with it.
We've been all over Calvin Ridley for a while, and I put a video up over the weekend talking about a pick 'em slip with Calvin Ridley, and when we were putting that together, we talked about how both his touchdown line at 5.5 and his receiving line at 924.5, both of them feel really attainable. You go back and look at what Ridley's done in his last 3 fully healthy seasons. He's been over 1,000 yards in all of them. He had 1,017 yards last year with Will fucking Levis throwing him the ball. And now you're going to tell me that he can't get there with Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick? No, I'm not having it. Like, there's far too many wide receiver 2s being drafted ahead of Calvin Ridley.
Even more bullish was that we've seen Ridley and Elick, who ran in Ridley's stead, pretty promising. Well, for him, looks like A.O. Manor is pushing Van Jefferson for that second or third receiver spot, which is very bullish for the 4th round pick. But we saw that this role that Ridley's playing is the one wide receiver that's going in motion and getting these easy passes to create easy separation and quick hits. And, Ward looks like he has all the tools to hit those long passes, those short passes. He's going to have time in the pocket. Is he the most polished guy in the world right now? No. But, again, as you mentioned, huge upgrade on checks notes, Will Levis and Mason Rudolph as just far as like pure ceiling. He was still aggressive throwing deep. We know Ridley's going to get those shots. It's just like Ridley could easily just be the guy that's seeing, 9 to 10 targets a game because of this motion. A lot of it is just utilizing to free him up for yak. It's a very enticing thing. And then going back to week 17, they're playing Jacksonville. Defense still not very good. Both offenses with a lot to prove, with offensive minded folks in charge. It's an offense that you want pieces of, and it's a stacking partner that's easy to see the upside for. I don't see any reason not to take him, considering that he could just be easily, a 30+% target share kind of guy on this offense. This draft room is very interesting, by the way. We see Kamara pulled up. We see Egbuka pulled up an entire round from where he's been steamed up. We see Travis Hunter fall around.
He was just getting to the point where I thought, could he make it back to us?
Yeah. No RJ Harvey is a bummer. But you can't have every good player on your team.
Smash the like button, because I know Tyler's feeling fruity enough that he might keep drafting tonight. So make sure you hit that button. And oh my God, it is going to be a big week here on the channel. Besides the Ian Hart's video, there's probably the biggest guest that we've ever had on the channel coming up for what is going to be a very fun show. But more on that. Yeah. Tony Pollard, I'd absolutely be more than happy to put as a 3rd running back, but maybe push him around the corner. Would you prefer to take a wide receiver here, considering we've got Bucky and Amarian?
Definitely. And then the question is, the Jennings calf thing definitely doesn't seem completely nothing. And I'm okay with Addison because we're going to go quality and quantity.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Yeah. I was reading the beat reporters. San Francisco beat reporter confirmed that Garendo is the RB2 when he's healthy. He's currently not healthy, and currently every running back on the roster except for CMC is dead. So it makes you ask, what is CMC doing to all of his running back mates? But also,
it's the only way he can stay alive is to draw upon them.
Pollard goes. That's quite all right. At this point, we've got a bunch of running backs that are fine. I think, and chat can correct me if I'm wrong, I think Reed is out of the boot. But I think at this point, Jennings is an interesting click regardless. You'd like him to be healthier, but these are guys I'm okay with. What do you feel like here, Tom?
No, I think that this works well because it's like, we took the hero wide receiver approach, but it's like we don't want to sacrifice value after that point. We don't want to sacrifice build. The idea isn't to end up just on late round kind of guys in the way that you do when you hero running back. You still want to get these guys that have paths to volume and paths to touchdowns. And Jordan Addison's got that, like 19 touchdowns in 32 games. Juwan Jennings, the ceiling that we saw from him last year. Look, maybe he's not going to score 45-point like bombs like he did in week 3 last year, but he had enough good games that we can believe in him. And particularly with the Niners being what they are, and with the defense looking as bad as it does, particularly in the secondary, if they're going to be pass heavy, then I'm more than happy to have Jennings on the roster.
Yeah, as we've noted a couple times, Jennings is a guy that the market just isn't super in on, and they probably should be. Our friend of the channel, JJ Zacharyson, noting that the type of I believe year 5 breakout that Jennings is coming from has a really good hit rate on meeting or exceeding ADP for by like 2 points in PPR land. This is an offense that I'm investing heavily in, especially as a team that's been trending more pass heavy and more downfield aggressive pass heavy philosophically than we'd seen previously, given Purdy. Ayuk, looking fine to good in warmups, but still someone that, based on everything we've heard, may not be really touching the field and ramping up until week 5, 6, or 7, and that's without any sort of setbacks. And it does seem like Jennings, the calf thing, it's bothering him, but it's definitely more preventative than not. And it's also definitely, I'm not pushing it without a contract. You understand everything on both sides. They are more inclined to get that done than not. Rizzy's looking good out there, but I think Rizzy Pearsall having chemistry with Purdy in just a couple of months gives me confidence that the guy that had chemistry with Purdy going back to last year and all of this offseason until 3 weeks ago, who was taking part in camp, is going to be okay. We still want to chase, ceiling upside. We've seen that with Jennings in a single game over the course of the season. And then going into this season, definitely someone I want to invest in. Interesting how people are playing the news. Brian Robinson goes about 10 picks ahead of ADP at the 75 spot. Godwin going at 79. That squad just does not care about that.
Somebody's got to be confident that Brian Robinson's going somewhere good. I mean, there are plenty of links. Like, I was chatting with Andrew on the FantasyPros show about this, and he was putting out, like, the Jets staff have links to Brian Robinson, and there are some sort of links to the Texans and the 49ers around as well. So perhaps we do see a good one. I mean, Andrew's point was, what if we saw the Jets send Breece Hall to the Commanders? They want someone more explosive, and in return, they end up getting Brian Robinson and some sugar on top kind of back. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you'd need a healthy sized portion of sugar on top, but like that would kind of take care of both, wouldn't it? Like, I feel like Brian Robinson would be the kind of running back the Jets might like.
Absolutely. What do we want to do here, Tom? I think I have Pittman slightly ahead of Higgins, but I'm affable to most things here in this range. I haven't.
Let's go Pittman. I'm good with that. Like, I'm just kind of splitting the Colts wide receivers at the minute. It feels like they've both got reasonable paths to upside. And then as far as tight end, when it comes back around, Tyler Warren or Mark Andrews, I mean, both of them are going to be bets on touchdowns. Both of them are probably going to get there in completely different ways, but I'm very much fine with both.
How high are you taking Quinshon Judkins across all the platforms and streets, given that he still hasn't signed? We get some smoke today that, so Warren goes. I assume it's either Higgins or Andrews. I don't mind getting some touchdown equity in Andrews and kind of being balanced, unless there's a running back here you'd like to pull up.
I mean, do we go Jacory, Croskey-Merritt, or Bill at this point just for the hell of it?
Yeah, because he stacks. Let's do it.
Yeah. So just going back to the Judkins thing. So I did a bunch of drafts on Saturday. Obviously, I'm predominantly drafting on FFPC at the minute, so I'm not hitting volume in the same way as people who are able to draft, $3, $5 drafts when you're spending $35 or $125 on a draft. It does limit how many you do. And I was in the Superflex streets, so it kind of does push him quite a bit lower. But I think today's news where it was like, okay, Judkins and the Browns are still fairly far apart on their contracts. Last week when it emerged that the legal issue was going away, the way that some of the reporting sounded then that they expected to have him back with the team soon, I thought maybe they had a framework in place. Now it sounds like they don't. And it felt very deliberate that came out today. It felt like, if I had to guess, that it was the team putting it out there, the team make Joe Flacco the starter, and then the team try to put a little pressure on him to be the guy to come back and get on with things. Because, I mean, look, you've missed the whole of the actual official training camp part. Now we're in the post-training camp, and like he really is missing valuable time. So I think I'd have a hard time taking him before that kind of like pick 130 range. Like I think what he's walking into now is a committee whether he likes it or not for at least a large part of the season. Yes, there is definitely the back-end rookie upside, which we always know is going to be there when we take rookies. But how much is that upside kind of worth now? Because you've got a team that is starting Joe Flacco to start the year. Who's going to be quarterback at the back end? Is it going to be Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, Kenny Pickett, or Joe Flacco? Because that changes a lot of the complexion about what the team could look like. And how much of an opportunity is Dylan Sampson going to have to be able to carve out a role? If he carves out something that's highly valuable, then it's going to be difficult to see that disappearing. Is this a situation where the suspension ends up being later on in the season? There's all these kind of factors where it's just like, I'm not saying I don't want to draft him ever, but it's also like, just let somebody else have the headache of it for a few days and see where his ADP settles.
Yeah, hard to disagree with any of that. I said similar of like, I see the upside of taking him around the Cam Scatterbo, Zach Charbonnet range, thinking about late season and the quote unquote talent profile. But I think his pass profile was a little concerning coming in, and he's not helping himself by missing all this valuable time to be trusted in pass pro and blitz pickups and stuff, where Ford and Sampson have already kind of gotten some trust from the team and done that. And now it sounds like he'll be slow rolled coming into the season. All that said, Ayuk, Bateman, Scatterbo, Kraft, Burden, what tickles your fancy the most here?
I'm kind of okay if we wanted to take Ayuk and just sort of then leave wide receiver completely alone, or I'm always down for Tucker Kraft.
Let's go Ayuk. Just we're taking 2 shots on the San Francisco bet late season. Yeah. We're gonna have more wide receivers on this team most likely, and then I like if we can get Kraft here. I'm almost tempted to pull him up over Ayuk. I think we could have done that. Yeah, he goes. Maybe my one regret, not feeling too sour grapes about it, just considering that Cam's still on the board and Njoku's still on the board. Those all strike me as very strong picks regardless.
Where'd you want to go then?
I'm still taking Cam here. Personally.
That works. Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anyone kind of further.
Yeah, I'm not really seeing anything that's screaming at me. And I again, like Cam missing a lot of practice because of a hamstring, but it's more preventative than not. Still like the beat begrudgingly saying they still expect him to get work with the first team come week 1. You don't like guys missing time, but everything we've read about Daboll's talking about the running back room, he is so effusive about Cam Scatterbo, and he is so indifferent and not give a fuck about Tyrone Tracy. Splitting Tyrone Tracy with Devin Singletary still in the preseason. We're talking about a rookie running back with an interesting workhorse profile with pass catching to boot, and Jackson Dart not looking completely lost and out of his league. I think these are all things that I want to buy. And it just seems like we might have the slappiest running back room that we could build, which I think at this point in the season, not a bad thing whenever we're trying to target true upside. And I'm liking how the team is coming out. Because, again, if Cam is healthy and he's getting work, he's going to rise. And it's just it's a profile I want, and it's a Week 17 game I want a lot of because I want offenses that are fast paced that could be scoring a lot of points connected to bad defenses, and that checks the marks as well.
Yeah. On real time saying how you could be receiving 0% award from me this year. I don't have any issue with anyone saying that. Like, I was pretty against it for a lot, but I just feel like at this point in the draft season, when we start, with one wide receiver in the first 4 rounds, then I'm okay making a bet on someone like Ayuk later and hoping that by the time we get to the playoffs, we've got a really good wide receiver room. Otherwise, like other bits that have kind of been out there for training camp, like obviously we talked about the Trevion Henderson hype is definitely out there. How are you kind of approaching the Miami running backs? Like now, Devon Achane dealing with an injury, and then
it's got me a little spooked because like I hate hearing about a running back calf injury for a guy whose thing was, well, if he can just get back to being efficient and the volume, boom, boom. It's
scary. A bit easier in full PPR with Achane as well.
Right. I also have huge implosion concerns about this Miami team. The Tyreek vibes are not helping me any. The offensive line still being completely useless in short yardage is not filling me with hope. It's a tough pill to swallow. Wright looks mid. Ollie looks interesting but big, and so it's like I'm taking shots on Wright because he's falling and Achane's banged up. That seems wrong. But I just won't be surprised if these running backs just don't really matter because they're all kind of used and the line is just bad. They're cheap enough where it's like take shots on them, but goddamn, is it not? It's not stupidly appealing. But like Ollie was getting some passing work, so I'm more inclined to buy into the 7th round pick. We're on the clock. I think blue for the bring back to Washington.
And we've got CD Lamb in there as well. Yeah. So, Jaden Blue makes most sense definitely with you on that.
Because I think one of Spears or Sampson, I prefer Sampson over Spears because of the Spears injury.
Yeah.
You could argue we don't have to go a 6th running back, though, but I think. I will just throw out, we could also reach for Ward here as our stack. That's probably the prudent move, frankly, to make sure that we don't get boxed out at quarterback.
Yeah, it is pretty heavy quarterback on the other side of the board at the minute, but my instinct is kind of to go with Dylan Sampson, but we don't need. Let's go with Cam Ward.
Okay, and before we've got 9 seconds, I will just point out that Dalton Kincaid is 15 picks past ADP if we want him for our tight end 1.
Let's go Cam Ward. I really like Kincaid at his price this year. I think that he is probably going to be the best value he's ever been and have the best season he's had. But I'm not quite willing to turn down a stack of Cam Ward in an offense that we like. This probably been one of our convictions has been that we feel like the Titans have been underpriced and that the Titans are going to outplay their ADP. So to do that for Dalton Kincaid feels a little too speculative. Are you with me on that, or would you prefer?
100%. I mean, I'm trying not to be super, super low on Kincaid despite all the glowing camp reports, but far be it from me to not mention that the Bills blow a lot of fucking smoke up all their players' asses every year. And it's really easy to shine whenever Josh Palmer is in town, who's also been banged up. Shakir hurts his ankle, and that's when Kincaid starts plowing. It's like, okay, the slot guy with Josh Allen's looking good in camp. And then we've seen that, like, and I posited in a kind of a shit posty way a few weeks ago, but it was like, if Dalton Kincaid and this Bills offense are rolling with a bunch of Jags at wide receiver while Shakir is out, does that mean the Bills defense is just not that good? And thus far in preseason and the joint practices, what we're hearing is the Bills defense is not anything to write home about. So Kincaid is fine, but it looks like he's still splitting a part-time role with Knox and the other slot guys playing. Shakir,
are you leaning more to Elijah Moore than Curtis Samuel? It kind of feels like that might be where the drumbeat's going at this point. Curtis Samuel's got a reasonable amount of guaranteed money. If they cut him, I think it'd cost them a good few million. But Elijah Moore,
drumbeat's pretty strong on Moore over Samuel easily. So when I am clicking a late bill, it's definitely Moore. I'm just not clicking either of those guys over like Ray McLeod, A.D. Mitchell, Manor. I'm not really clicking Moore unless I have Josh Allen.
So, I mean, then the progression of this conversation is going, okay, well, if we're saying the Bills defense could be bad, then maybe the real players that we should be stacking up Josh Allen and we should be taking more of these guys, because if they're forced into more pass heavy scripts in a way that they haven't been over the last few years, maybe we see an even more impressive Bills offense, one which actually hammers targets to players in a way they haven't done before. And then maybe we get a season where Josh Allen actually deserves to win the MVP award.
It also just might mean that they've been able to kind of have their way with like defenses in the run game, given Josh Allen and the running backs. They sign Cook. They have I just think it's another reason to invest. Like, again, take shots on the cheap guys, yada yada yada. But like, I think premium wise, it's Allen, it's Cook, and it's Shakir when healthy. And Shakir is someone I'm getting interested in now as he dips. But yeah, I agree that like Ward with our stack with upside over Daniel single week, but also allowing this roster to be a 2-quarterback roster allows us to catch up at wide receiver and tight end. Felt much more prudent than the falling value of Kincaid. When I look back on the season, I'd rather have the quarterback 1 and the wide receiver 1 stacked up. And we're rewarded with a falling Hunter Henry as our first tight end anyway off the board. So all good. Now, I will just float that, like, I think we can get both guys, but Ertz feels like a slight priority, but I think Henry with the value is more.
I'd go with the value on Henry. I mean, you know, with the dual threat quarterbacks, the stacks are useful, and Zach Ertz was a bit of a volume monster, but like Zach Ertz just feels like such a fragile profile. Maybe what we should have done was gone Zach Ertz, Chigakonkwo, but value on Henry felt pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, like there's value in getting a solid target when the room gives it to you. Now we have the option of stacking Jaden or stacking Chig. I think with the Terry holdout stuff, the Debo yada yada, and all I've heard is that Zach Ertz is still Jaden's best friend.
Yeah,
I'm tempted to just stack up Ertz and then see, you know,
I mean,
Chig's moved up, but like, and I have plenty of Cam and Chig. Maybe Chig is the guy that comes back around to us, but I do like now that we have the running back stack with Jaden, but we also have a pass catcher with Jaden because Jaden is having a 40-point game. We've seen Ertz have double-digit touchdown games as well, and the floor ceiling of that, you know, it seems like he hasn't fallen off for where he was last year, which was, newsflash, a better tight end every week by a long stretch than Dalton Kincaid.
I just, in that situation, I would rather push things, and obviously we don't get Chigakonkwo here. He goes to, Bill instead, which, fine. You know, we made that bet and we made that risk, but I'd rather push a player and see whether we can get it than force it just for the sake of the stack. Calvin Ridley's going to be the volume monster there. I do think that it's been noteworthy how much Chigakonkwo has been playing with the starters, with the Titans.
It's been good. I think ultimately though, and I'm sure the Sims would tell us similar, of like the team you're more wanting to stack heavily is the top 5 elite team quarterback stack you have versus the you know, projected bottom 15 offense. And then especially like, I don't mind chasing Chig up. I think he belongs in this range of guys, maybe even above some of these guys, frankly, given his age and the coach speak and the routes and stuff. But this is all, he's also been available in like the last 2 rounds of the draft regularly for like, you know, 70% of this contest. Or how full is BBM? I haven't actually checked yet. BBM is
I know
7-3. Damn, I'm good. God damn, I need to take a vacation from.
Yeah, and if anybody isn't, go and follow ballcoach_Nate, who's tweeting out daily updates on DraftKings drafters and BBM, taking over the mantra from me. I think he said BBM needs 10,000 entries a day to fill, and it was doing 11,000 over the weekend, so it should fill with a couple of days spare. And we've seen this before with BBM. Once it kind of gets close, then you see people just start really slamming entries, and you might see like a 20,000 entry day. So don't push it and leave it too late if you plan on maxing it. Tyler, how many are you at? Are you getting to the magical 69 number again this year?
Yeah, we got to do check in on that because I think my BBM pace is definitely higher than it was last year, considering it came out earlier, and I'm wanting to make sure. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I go past that 69 number this year at this rate, which feels bad, right? Like it's a bit is a bit.
Damn 20-second clocks are just ruining everything.
Yeah, it's just a man likes to enjoy things. You just can't enjoy anything anymore.
Okay, so we've got 2 tight ends. Obviously, a third would probably be helpful, but there's plenty of wide receiver options. Troy Franklin's starting to get a little bit of steam. Would you rather take Troy Franklin over Isaiah Likely?
I think I'm taking A.D. Mitchell over all those guys, just given the news we've heard. Now, that gives us 2 indie pass catchers, but I think at cost, that's okay.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And we're betting on their pass output to be competent in a way which it perhaps wasn't last year anyway. So, look,
question before we're on the clock is this a room we are shutting it down at 5 running backs with to then have an additional wide receiver and tight end?
I mean, I think we definitely need the tight end. So
I think likely here is the click and we figure it out.
Yeah, unless you want to hedge against our Roshan exposure with some Monongai.
Let's grab Likely just for the ceiling. Like we're essentially swapping Ertz and Likely for where they were going. Actually, I take that back. Likely was going at like 130 to 120 for a large portion of this contest. So thinking through week 17, getting access to 2 top 5 offenses and pass offenses, we have him more than covered with Henry and Ertz early. And we get a discount on, like, at this point, I don't care if he doesn't hit my lineup for 6 weeks because of his injury, because it's tight end first and foremost, and second of all, it's a 17th round pick. I think now that the third tight end was prudent, I think his ceiling is much better than a lot of the guys going around him. Like, no offense to Juwan Johnson and others, but considering that Tyler Shuck hasn't handily walked away from the quarterback starting job, I'm inclined to think this quarterback is going to be worse than the offensive line based on what we've seen thus far. So all that said, CeeDee Lamb, Calvin Ridley, Jordan Addison, Juwan Jennings, Michael Pittman, Brandon Ayuk, A.D. Mitchell at wide receiver. Tom, running backs, we have Bucky Irving, Amarian Hampton, Jacory Croskey-Merritt. Oh, sorry, Bill Croskey-Merritt, Cam Scatterbo, Jaden Blue. Do we want another receiver or another running back, or is it going to depend on who's on the board when we're up to pick?
I mean, 4 rookie running backs in a 5 room is, we are making a slightly thin bet. And as much as I want to draft believing I'm right, maybe just hedging that slightly with another running back, even if it is a rookie running back in Giddens or second-year running back in Jalen Wright, I'd be completely fine with that. I know we don't want Marshawn Lloyd, no matter where he is on the board at this point.
I can't afford to, Tom. I have 27% Marshawn Lloyd, and I just can't do it.
It's when we look back on the down bad ratings this year, the Marshawn Lloyd stuff is not.
There may not be a more snake-bitten player besides maybe like Rondale Moore. Pour a glass out for both those guys.
Yeah, I like DJ Giddens. Like, he's
too cheap. He's the RB2, and no one seems to care.
He's a really fun prospect. We know that he's got some juice in the pass catching way that Jonathan Taylor perhaps hasn't. Like, Jonathan Taylor's a fine pass catcher, but he doesn't earn targets as a running back, really. And of course, you then relying on Daniel Jones because Anthony Richardson probably isn't going to check down as much. But yeah,
if both are available, who would you prefer, Giddens or Monongai?
I think Giddens' upside is much bigger, but Monongai probably gives maybe a slightly higher.
I'm just a little spooked that Monongai was in sweatpants because he was injured, not because he was necessarily getting rested as a starter. That apparently got a little misconstrued. So I think I'm inclined to agree with you. We have an Indianapolis bet, the pass catching and rushing for Giddens. Like, if I'm torn between the two, I'm inclined to take the guy who I objectively think is the better talent. I have no reason to take Kyle Monongai except for he may be the RB2 on a maybe good offense, but he is an objectively dog shit player profile and otherwise could be a laughably poor pick over DJ Giddens in 3 months from now.
Let's get Brian Robinson to the Bears and get DeAndre Swift out of that lineup and let Brian Robinson take some of those between the tackles touches. Like, I think
Washington would probably leap for joy if they got to swap B-Rob for DeAndre Swift.
Oh, I mean, I wasn't talking about a swap. I meant just.
Oh, I know, but I think the Bears would be like, yeah, we'll swap them. Let's see. You know what? I think I like that pick because also, one thing when you do punt receiver late is, we did get CeeDee Lamb. So as far as forward ceiling are concerned, we're saying that's our hero, and we're just trying to fill 2 other spots, and we're hopefully hammering the flex with a running back that we hit with youth and with upside in spades. And I think the way we addressed receiver, I know Addison going to miss the first 3 weeks. Juwan week 1 is a little bit in question, but I think not nearly as in question as like maybe a Chris Godwin. Pittman and 80, we're taking 2 shots at the Colts pass catcher. Both guys seeing equal parts volume and hype. Ayuk, I think the warm-up reps were very promising for what we saw. I think it's still on the table that he's pupped for the first 4 weeks, but could get back on the field week 5, as we said earlier. And so I think just hammering another running back felt like the move to buy us at 2-6-7-3 here with Jaden Daniels, Cam Ward, and then at tight end Henry, Ertz, and Likely.
Well, if we were kind of in a position where we'd needed something else, I think you could have maybe we could have talked ourselves into like a Justice Hill or something where it's like, okay, the Ravens have quite an interesting start to their schedule. Can we push him to a point where it's like, okay, against games like the Bills, the Chiefs, the Texans, the Lions, does Justice Hill give us a little bit to hedge against it? But I think we've got enough volume that I'm pretty pleased with.
Yeah, I mean, it also like if AD Mitchell breaks out, one of the ways you climb out of the hole is by attacking underpriced upside. And so this is the cheapest Pittman's ever been. If Downs misses any time with a hamstring, it benefits both Pittman and AD Mitchell. Tyler Warren looks awesome, but they're going to have to score a lot of points because their defense just loses a starter and a depth piece every week, it seems. They're the new Chargers, seemingly. And Addison had a great rapport with JJ McCarthy. In week 5, he's going to come on, or week 4 and 5, he's going to come on very strong before going on bye. That's going to be helpful. Early season, we're the least worried about, considering we do have elite quarterback, elite running back, and then, a very underrated floor and ceiling with tight ends early. I very easily see how in week 7, this wide receiver room looks so strong. We wonder why we tacked on, a Ray McLeod or a Noel is another, like that would have been a shot for late season. But it seems like he and Higgins maybe splitting the wide receiver 3 role. And so at that point, it's like, well, and then if we have any questions about the guys we're taking at receiver, both early and late, maybe let's just take the RB2 going into week 1. And if anything happens to Jonathan Taylor, this team is supercharged for having very strong running back flex.
Yeah, I really like it. I think it's quite a different build compared to a lot of ones we've normally done. We've mixed in so much upside with it and still got plenty of our kind of conviction plays in there. Tyler, I'm going to bounce, but I gather that you are going to be diving into some of the cheaper underdog drafts for the rest of the night. What are your plans? Which drafts are you hitting up?
Yeah, I think the folks probably want to get into some Pomeranian. They did just drop that. I believe it's a rake-free Pomeranian, so it seems like some good streets to go chase and slap it up and feel nothing. And I just took Jacory Croskey-Merritt in the 9th round in a BPM, so I think I'm ready to take him in the 3rd round in a Pomeranian.
Love it. People, before I get here, make sure you do keep your eye on the channel. There's some really fun stuff coming this week. We're closing in on 4,000 subscribers. Truly appreciate all you who are already subscribed. But if you're not, smash the subscribe button. Really does help us out a lot. Tyler, I will catch you very soon. Have a good one, man.
Good to see you, Tom. Catch you later. All right, everybody. Do a little countdown with the latency. If you want to jump into a Pomeranian 3 with me, again, rake free. It's already, it's been out for less than 4 hours, and it's already 25% filled. So this will likely be filled by midday tomorrow, late tomorrow at best. If this tracks, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're jumping in. Waiting for 6. So if anybody wants to jump in with us, they likely will. Appreciate everybody hanging out. as we note, only 18 likes. Get those likes up, folks. Every like helps. Bonsai says everybody's got a Marshawn Lloyd in their exposure. I mean, the discuss part is that he looks good. He got his touch. He ripped off a 36-yard pass play, I believe it was. We get the 5-hole. I see friend of the channel, Steve-O Speak, aka Steve Shoup. Charlie line of scrimmage. I think he won 3rd place in Best Ball Mania 2. Dark Horse, I recognize. Huron River Rat, friend of the channel, Jason Calhoun, saying, I can't believe I did it again. And that's the worst part is ever since he got banged up, I stopped taking him. It's just I ended up with so much of him through like 300 drafts late that it is what it is. What's up, Charlie? We're just talking about you. Kyle asking, do you keep Josh Allen or Derrick Henry in a keeper league? So I think my question to you, Kyle, is that I assume this takes away the pick that they are in. For your ADP, is Allen and Henry both 2nd-round picks, or is Henry a 1st-round pick? Is Henry a 2nd-round pick and Josh Allen's a 3rd-round pick? Because if Josh Allen's a 3rd-round pick, Henry's a 2nd-round pick, you're forfeiting the pick for the guy you're taking. I think I take Allen in the keeper league, considering that his youth and his, we talk about how we know who the elite quarterbacks are more than we know who the elite running backs are. Henry may only be a guy you keep. Are you going to keep Henry at like a 2nd or 3rd-round pick next year at 30-something years old? It's a valid question to ask. I don't have as much McCaffrey, so I think I'm going to be a little cute here and take McCaffrey over Saquon because fully healthy, McCaffrey's ceiling is higher than any other player in fantasy. Pass catching, he's looking good. Every running back behind him is dying. His fellow pass catchers may not be healthy week 1 or until week 6. Plus, easiest projected schedule in the league right now. And Barkley is now missing 2 offensive linemen for extended period of time. Could be a hit to the rushing efficiency. And his pass catching was better than we thought as Bears invaders last year. Still nothing close to elite. So wait, Kyle, I would say if all those things considered, I think I'm more liable to take Josh Allen as a keeper because I get to keep free rolling that every year for your elite quarterback. I don't know that you're doing that with Derrick Henry much longer. And I suppose that Josh Allen is cheaper than Henry. So it's also less of an opportunity cost to your rosters. No comment, Your Honor. Anyone else can sound off in the chat. Al Boogie saying sprints have been feeling pretty easy if people are looking to do them as well. Oh, that's good to know. See, I got it. I got it wrong. 2 was Liam. 3. Oh, that's right. That's right. You were Pat's here. I can never remember if you were Pat or Liam's here. No Cap Max. So Tyler, how many reacher rounds are you willing to make for Bill? I think 9th is, like I said, I think I'm at this point very comfortable just flipping he and B-Rob and ADP and not blinking. And I essentially did that with Tom just now in BBM. So I think, I don't want to not take him because I decide I'm not going to take him in the 9th, but I'll take him in the 10th and someone else takes him. So I'm full slappy at that point, and it is what it is. I think much higher than that. I don't know. The talent profile is still something I'm not the most sold on. Not just because of draft capital. Pass catching is a part of that. And then also we saw that Jane Daniels is going to get plenty of rushing work in the red zone, and that's going to cap his upside just a tad bit. We're going to keep it rolling with some Bucky Irving and legendary upside of pass catching and attached to a great offense and a team that plays the hapless Miami defense in week 17. Give it to me. Give me some more, as it were. So yeah, I think, if I had to take, I had to take Bill Croskey-Merritt over, say, DeAndre Swift, gun in my head. Yeah, I do that because if in week 5, Bill Merritt is so funny. I'm gonna start calling him that. If he's this year's rookie year Isaiah Pacheco, and could I look myself in the face in the mirror and say you passed him up for DeAndre fucking Swift, who we don't know is going to get that much work, and we don't think the coach likes him very much. Like, can I live with myself? And the answer would be no, I can't. Jason Calhoun on the clock takes Jackson. I'll take a little bit of Tyreek dip. He's not my favorite click in the world, but maybe late season he's spiking with Irvin. Who knows? I'm not taking a whole lot of Tyreek. It doesn't feel bad right now to be doing that. This Pat fucking see this is annoying. You know, we adjusted our time so many times to try to avoid other bigger channels. And if Pat starts just I think he's just one-off streaming whenever he's free, right? I'm assuming that. But like that's the aggravating part is like this is the time slot where really no one else was going and we could kind of like stay in our lanes, do our thing. And so it's very fun now to know that Karain is going live, just absolutely nuking me again. Last week, Ship Chasing went live at the same fucking time to do their FFPC draft, which was fun stream, fun draft. Nuked my solo stream when I was working like a 50-hour work week and I didn't really want to go on camera anyway. And now fucking Karain's nuking us again. Love that. You're very welcome, Kyle. If you like that advice, leave a comment after the stream letting us know how much you enjoyed that. Stick around. Bonsai Bet saying, I like JCM as much as the next guy, but are we sure this won't be a gross JCM Rodriguez Eckler committee? I'm fairly certain that Rodriguez, who looks like the RB5 right now and also not attached to this staff at all, if the staff's already moving on from Brian Robinson, I don't know that they give a flying fuck about Chris Rodriguez, who, according to the beats, looks like RB5. So no, I don't think that. I think McNichols is more of the concern, but the beats and the team have pretty much indicated they like 1A, 1B with a rusher and a pass catcher, and they have backups to those two guys. But like we weren't certain about that with Brian Robinson's ADP, and the answer is this is a rookie with a hell of a lot more juice and has an athletic profile, extremely more explosive. So I'm not too worried about like 10 to 20% of another guy mixing in. I think Eckler moves up and he's still a solid click with that. But at his age and everything, considering like JCM is like the most explosive back on this roster. So I'm inclined to just blindly click, right? Really and truly. I mean, like if JCM is good enough that they are comfortable telling Brian Robinson to go kick rocks, I don't know if they're spelling him very much with McNichols and Chris Rodriguez for like meaningful touches, because at the end of the day, they do try to prioritize like their most explosive players. They upgraded receiver with Deebo Samuel and Jalen Lane. Yeah, I don't. Does that like pass the common sense sniff test? Oh, we're gonna boot Brian Robinson, but we're gonna make JCM the most explosive back on this roster. Sit a couple routes for Chris Rodriguez, who looked like nothing special at all. Relax. We appreciate all you fine people supporting the small business in our streets. I think I'm hammering RJ Harvey here just for like floor ceiling. I'm enjoying filling the flex with a RJ Harvey who's not ever coming back around to me in the 6th round. When I get pass catching youth and just like mega boom, like I'd rather fill it with a RJ Harvey before he becomes as expensive as Henderson than like a Devonta Smith or Jesus Christ, Ricky Pearsall in the 5th or Steve. Bless up. I'm going to draft fun and high upside, high floor. Yeah. No. He's like, I'm free. I'm going to go live. Oh, Boogie, can you teach me how to draft better when I'm drinking? Yes. Have rankings. So when in doubt, just trust your rankings. Yeah. I mean, Pat, I want to give Pat credit. We flew on the same flight. His connecting flight was my flight out to Fort Lauderdale here in Houston. He was 3 rows ahead of me, and I was like the second to last row on that flight. So he flew like the common man. Much love, Thad. We appreciate you, fine folks. Let the slap take over, bro. This isn't like Kendre Miller Cope or Hopium. This isn't Bayshal Tootin. Take him in the 10th round because Tank Bigsby now mixed in over ETN and got a design touch. So imagine if that was Tootin. This is holy fucking shit. This might be the 1A with a lot of fucking juice on the Commanders with Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury. I don't have enough of him. It's time to take him, and I don't care because I know a lot of these picks are going to be fucking dog shit, hilarious, bad. Week 4 best ball resurrection. And who am I going to look myself in the face and say, like, yeah, that was worth not clicking that over? It's hard to say anybody, right? What a fucking shitty range of the draft. Jacoby's been falling. Let me set up some Diggs, Drake May stuff. Because I have a sneaking suspicion. I don't know if I'm going to stack with Bo. I don't know if I'll be able to stack with Purdy. I may have to reach for Dak and May because I want some mobility and I want some pass touchdown upside. So, Myers goes to Jason. Fuck you. Yeah, I've bumped Olave down considerably. He gets a design target. 2 of them. Shaheed also gets 2 of them, more than they saw. I think Ron Stewart or someone else. No, maybe someone noted the design. No, maybe it was Hayden. The designed targets, which obviously short area like screens and stuff. We knew Kellen Moore was going to be good for these receivers. The bad news is Rattler and Shuck all look bad and bad to find. And those are the guys that are going to be rotating. So I don't love it for the upside. I don't know what more signal you need to feel confident on a click, though, is my thing. Like, we're not talking like, pulling up to the 6th round immediately right now, but like in the 9th, around guys like Charbonnet and Tyrone Tracy and J.K. Dobbins, yeah, I easily make that click. Easily. Hate this range. But we'll take a click on a guy who's hopefully out of a boot, hopefully practicing week 1. Wasn't going to make the Caleb Johnson click. Wasn't going to make the David Montgomery click. Probably should just take Laporta. He's been falling, but the severity of the injury seems not that bad. Projected pretty weak past D. I just hate making the click at tight end, given all the good tight ends available. Yeah. Reed still has some pretty good upside if he's healthy. Let's see. To play devil's advocate, hasn't really been like one case of a 7th round running back working out in the past 10. Sure. How many cases of a 7th round running back have you seen where the team is trying to shop the starting running back based on ADP before the season, who's also on the cut bubble? None. So it's a unique case, is it not? So treat it like a unique case. What's up, Harry? Saying he also needs to know how to draft better when he's drinking. I mean, I have been advocating for the Pearsall thing at ADP ever since Shanahan and Harmon had the same thing to say about beating man coverage. And then the second Ayuk was going to miss more time, that allowed Pearsall to be installed better in the offense, and Jennings potentially holding out or missing time with injury, and also a very good schedule, an offense I want pieces of. And ever since he got back healthy, practicing, and he's been having good camp reports, I've been very willing to click the name. All right, we're about to be on the clock. My 2 sons. I'm not getting him back. So welcome to the team, Bill Merritt, RB4. Let's see what happens around the turn. Yeah, if I'm only gonna have 4 or 5 running backs, he's gonna be on this team. Well, then Pat's body double has all of the ranks and takes down too. I mean, yeah, that part of it is the New York state taxes and the city tax before moving to SoCal, but also like, he also won a bunch of won or placed highly in a bunch of like mid and high stakes contests too. The year after with the tax savings bonanza shit, so he's doing well for himself. But yeah, he acknowledged that like, hey, not a ton left after taxes and moving. You'd rather trade your 7th round pick for 2 12s. Well, it's not how value usually works. I think a strong running back in the 7th would be a much better click. I mean, who the fuck are you taking the 12th? Braylon Allen now? Like the 12th round running backs kind of suck. I've had to pull up the 13th, 14th round guys. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just reach for May since Mind of a Fat Kid takes Dak to make sure he locks up the CeeDee Lamb stack, and I want to make sure I get a mobile high upside quarterback. And Bo Nix also goes before me, so that was a must. I mean, it be me, bro. Yeah. Let's see. Harry says, is Hendon Hooker ever going to get a chance? So many QBs get a start or 2. He's so lost in Detroit. I finally dropped him in Dynasty. So here's the deal. We got to stop taking guys that like come in and miss their entire rookie season to injury. He came in as a pretty objectionably questionable at best quarterback prospect who's going to miss his entire rookie season. That's not good for skill positions. Rotoviz did awesome research years ago showing that like almost a non-existent hit rate on guys that miss their entire rookie season. It's one of the reasons why I faded JMO year 1, year 2 successfully. Quarterback missing all that time, not good. And then behind Jared Goff, who broke out with a good offensive coordinator and a good coach, and then got an extension. I don't know why anyone's holding on to Hendon Hooker, and you certainly needed to cut bait now as you did, that he's been passed up by. I mean, the team signed goddamn Teddy Bridgewater last year. That was all the signal you needed, that like they have no faith in this guy. Is this room about to make me have to backstack Caleb fucking Williams? Actually, I'm going to go and take Kraft, and we'll set up a Jordan Love double. So through 10 rounds, we get Drake May, Christian McCaffrey, Bucky Irving, RJ Harvey, and Bill, Croskey-Merritt, Tyreek Hill, George Pickens, Stephon Diggs, Jaden Reed, and Tucker Kraft. Tax-free in Canada, tax-free in the UK. It's a tough time living here. By the way, nice After Dark episode with old Pete. I mean, different situation, right? He didn't miss his entire rookie. He didn't miss. He was practicing in camp. And also the team, I'll address that in a sec. Am I missing anything? Do we get greedy? No. So JJ McCarthy didn't miss all of camp. He got injured right before the start of the season. famously. And then also we got news that like he was doing some like the virtual reality practice reps, and he was meeting with the coach to go through the playbook and scheme and film. And then the team showed us confidence in letting Darnold walk and installing him. He then returns earlier from a non-full tear injury in spring and takes all the reps. So while the hit rate is low, like I said, JMO escaped after, for his year 3. You can laugh about that all you want, but like we know that was one of the reasons why Jaden Daniels was able to kind of like take such a massive step forward with LSU, was because he was able to like double and triple up the reps of practice with VR stuff. And under the current CBA, any additional reps that are like semi legit for practice are undervalued. So I guess I just mean Nick Mullins, Easton Stick, Tyler Shuck, you name it, whoever else just gets a chance, but Hooker just hasn't a single sniff. First of all, Easton Stick, I mean, he's only gotten a shot because the Chargers QBs inevitably miss 2 or 3 games. Nick Mullins, I mean, you're also talking about like different systems. Like Shanahan can put anybody back there, and also Tyler Shuck, like he hasn't gotten a shot yet. He hasn't yet. Like he hasn't even beaten out Spencer Rattler yet. But that's a second round pick who's coming in competing for the starting job with a full open QB room. Like these names you've listed are one is not like the other. Hendon Hooker was only ever going to see the field with a Jared Goff injury, and the team refused to let that happen in the playoffs when they signed Teddy Bridgewater. So vastly different type of bet there. You fucker. We'll go ahead and just stack Kyle with Drake May for our New England double. I know he's a slappy favorite, so pushing him probably wasn't the smartest thing. And we can afford to wait on tight end with Tucker Kraft. It's case by case basis, but like missing rookie time is typically bad. So especially for like Dynasty, I just think there were better shots to take either ambiguous or like if you like offenses where it's like, what is the upside? And has this dude been able to like kind of show out in college? The Tennessee quarterback is fake as it gets. The Tennessee running back is as fake as it gets. It's not shocking that they are not pro ready and are not installed or not trusted with like full pro stuff. So it's things to be mindful of. Like quarterbacks that get more chances, they have more things in common just by like getting the trust of the coaching staff. I think it's something we undervalue as a fantasy community. It's like we see with running backs, like who coaches trust. We'll go ahead and take the dip on Goddard and probably be done at tight end so we can catch up at receiver. And we might also be done at quarterback. We'll see. Well, it's like there's a reason why like Joe Flacco keeps like getting jobs and getting called off the bench because like the bar is much higher than we give it credit for coming in and competing week in and week out and giving the team a chance to A, showcase talent, B, operate the offense at a semi-competent level, compete to win the game, not be completely hosed. Yeah, no, for sure. It's just like I get the thesis of it, but it's like I don't love taking a pick on a guy who's going to miss an entire year in any format, but especially Dynasty, because it's like you're eating that zero. They're not increasing in value year over year, and they are likely not increasing their value with the team as far as like trust and role and usage. So it's an uphill battle to matter based on everything we know. And in a thing like Dynasty, I'd rather roster, like his rookie year, I would have rather rostered any other quarterback who either gives me spot starts or allows me to have a bargaining chip for spot start trades, or seizes more of a role than we think, a la Darnold, Baker, etc. Or even like your Nick Mullins types, to either swap for a pick or swap for a player or have someone contributing to my roster. You were eating a 0 for an entire year, and then his only way to get in was with an injury, and that's not increasing value unless he's very, very good. And so you bought a depreciating asset who had to probably wait like till year 3. Like his value upside was Jared Goff's not extended, and it was very unlikely they weren't going to extend him after trading for him and then winning with him for 2 years. So it's like, what was the upside of Hendon Hooker? A spot start? Get that anywhere else, and you didn't get that upside for an entire fucking year. So that's where I would say it's a vastly different bet versus like any alive backup if you wanted to do that. And then it's like take a alive cheap backup on a good offense where they just plug and play a Achane style offense, etc. Or your journeyman and like Flacco and such. Russell Wilson the last 3 years, journeyman that's gotten you starts, can net you a 4th, 5th, 3rd round pick at times. Hell, you buy Daniel Jones for a fucking 4th or 3rd when no one wants him and he's the backup on the Vikings, and now he's potentially a starter. It's like there are better bets in Dynasty. You know what? Moan about Hooker all you want, brother. I support it. I love complaining. It makes me feel good. What do we want to do here? Probably some rookie juice. What do we got? What does this team need? Let's get some Horton. Christian McCaffrey, Bucky Irving, Tyreek Hill, George Pickens, RJ Harvey, Stephon Diggs, Jaden Reed, Bill Croskey-Merritt, Drake May, Tucker Kraft, Jordan Love, Kyle Williams, Dallas Goedert, Cedric Tillman, Torrey Horton through 15 rounds. Dyami Brown, Charlie. Oh, I see. Boring. Slap it up. Pussy. I'm more interested in who are we not touching with the 10-foot pole going into home league, going into last 2 weeks of the preseason. I'm not touching Mixon. I'm not touching Najee. I'm not touching Brian Robinson right now. I have a hard time seeing how he gets more valuable away from a top 5 offense where he was potentially the goal line back. Because none of the RB hungry teams right now are signaling their desperation, and I think the trade rumor after the cut bubble rumor supports that, because this feels like the team trying to get some bidding action going before they cut him. So I don't see how his value increases unless he gets a nut landing spot. And newsflash, the Cowboys are not going to do that. They went into this last season with unproven 26-year-old Rico Dowdle, who at that point was just depth and special teams, and washed beyond insanity Ezekiel Elliott. They're not trading for fucking Brian Robinson. I especially not like they like Phil Maffa. They like Jaden Blue. They like Sanders. They respect Javonte Williams' wisdom. Just call him Javonte Wisdom at this point. He's got a great personality ass quote I've ever seen in my life. I'll take Will Shipley as the last running back on the squad. I also did not take Saquon, so we'll hedge. Get Shipley for our last running back. And we might just be rolling 2 quarterback with May and Love. We'll see. Also, it feels so good to be like, why are people clicking Tyler Shuck over Jackson Dart? We're way too overconfident about a pretty bad second-round pick quarterback coming out on what projects to be a bad offense. And people are like, no, bro, he's going to start all 17 games, bro. And guess who looks way fucking more functional and like a better bet for fantasy, period? Jackson Dart. That's fair. If he hadn't just returned to practice the other day, I might be with you on this. Yeah, depending on how bad this Achane calf thing is, be fucking dicey. Dicey, not nicey. Yeah, we'll take 80 Mitchell and then we'll figure it out for our last pick. I don't think I'm clicking a Royal right now. Given only kind of ran with the 2s. He looked like he was kind of getting manhandled in the blocking. And I don't think I want. It looks like they're just going to rotate Barner and Arroyo for like passing and blocking best case. And then it's like, do I want a tight end 2 on a bottom 15 offense? I don't think so. Not touching Olave. Interesting. Be embarrassed, Charlie. So, Andy, I have to ask, if you're not touching Ken Walker the third in redraft, how high are you reaching for Charbonnet? Because if that was me, I'd probably be taking Charbonnet in like the 7th or 8th to make sure I got that guy. There's a Brian Robinson bag holder. You're a bad bag holder if you can't even spell his name right. I'm just praying the Texans get him. Chubb has started to look better the last few weeks, as the doctors predicted he would, as he got more reps, as the team was hoping as he got more reps. And he got like 95% of the work. Isn't Brian Robinson just younger? Worse prime Nick Chubb, maybe equivalent Nick Chubb right now. They have Woody Marks. They traded a bunch of capital for him. We got some juice in the run game between the tackles. Shout out Woody Marks. Did look better between the tackles than I thought he would with the second team. And then Dame Pierce, who this run scheme is probably better suited for him. Like, why are you? I don't think they give a fuck enough to do that. Noah Brown with Jaden Daniels, love that. Since he's missed a lot of time, and yet they still keep calling him the starting wide receiver 2. Henry asking, what is your over-under on Chubb's RB finish? That's a good question. That's the parlay of, okay, am I taking a quarterback here, or am I taking another receiver, or am I taking a tight end? I'm tempted for some quarterback points. I do have 80 Mitchell. I'll take dimes. Chubb is going currently as RB52. Mixon's set to miss week 1. I don't think they rush him back if he's not practiced for fucking 5 months with no contact. I think Mixon is a dog to play more than like 5 full games at this point. Chubb got a shitload of the work. The line is a work in progress, but he got more pass work than maybe he thought. Over under, I'll say I think he just sneaky, like, for the first 4 to 6 weeks. I would not be shocked if he saw like a stupid amount of work, got too many touchdowns. And then if he just stays healthy and continues to be good. Man. I'll set the over under it. And because Ryan's is mad stubborn. And if they have that much trust in him right now as he's getting ramped up, God knows if he's like looking a little spry. I'll say RB. You said finish, so full season. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, can he stay healthy? Can he get a lot of the work for a lot of the season? I think that's not as unlikely as the Woody Marks fans would like. RB. I'm going to be a little bit of a pussy and say RB 40. I think he can finish as RB 40. I think RB 35 to 30 is not as unlikely as maybe the Chubb detractors would think, based on history. The doctors, one of the reasons why I was clicking Nick Chubb is because, like, first of all, he got way more money than anybody thought he was going to get. And he got signed a lot earlier than a lot of people thought he would as well. Went to a better team than he could have gone. Like Houston from Cleveland, that's an upgrade. As far as like offensive ceiling, right? They've given a lot more work in his preseason action with the first team than I think anybody thought they would. Like he's not getting subbed out as like a pass down or like 60% like he was with the Browns. So like that's more bullish than people thought. The Mixon news is way worse than people thought a month ago, 3 weeks ago. And the doctors thought that I follow are like, hey, another year removed from the double ligament tear, and so he's more likely to be physically back to form than he's to be like how he looked before he sprained his foot and after he hurt his foot. So it's like Chubb with a little bit of juice on a not bad offense that's getting 75 to 90% of the work. That guy's gonna outproduce ADP pretty easily, especially on a half-point PPR site, especially for a team that rammed Mixon into the line a bunch. Bro, yeah, every draft I don't get Ken Walker in, I kind of hate. Yeah, so Robert saying 50 and a half. I think 40 is, I think 45. I took the line at 45 and I'd take the over. Based on what I know right now. Based on my read of how the Texans are likely to play. Now, that goes sour grapes if he doesn't score enough touchdowns early and Marks and Dame are mixing in more. But based on what they just did in preseason 2, 95% of the work with the first team. That's a lot. That's a lot. Now, there's no chance he looks like prime Nick Chubb. But there's a strong chance he looks a lot more like prime Nick Chubb than he did look like last year, which is a really good running back. That's a solid running back. That's that J.K. Dobbins juice mid-season last year on the Texans. I mean, like, that's a good finish. I mean, how Nick Chubb, we forget who this guy is, right? Like, one of the things working against him is his age. One of the things working in his favor is that he's an elite athlete. 9.15 RAS. This guy is elite explosion. Is one of the reasons why J.K. Dobbins outproduced coming off year one from an Achilles. Age was a factor, but elite athletes are really best bets. He himself, not an elite athlete, but elite speed. So it was one of the things that took the least hit. So all that said, I'm inclined to think Chubb is undervalued on half-point PPR. The workload's pretty interesting. And what people don't realize is the Texans do not give a fuck about draft capital so much. They're very much a veteran deference team. They're doing it right now with the wide receivers. They're doing it with the running backs. They let Robert Woods run way too many routes the last few years. Like, this team does not give a fuck. Yeah, I mean, they did just take souls. There you go. So, yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to think Chubb sees a lot more work early than not. And if he just holds up, and he's been really durable outside of the tears. And I think that's one of the reasons why they were precautious slow rolling him coming back. No reason to rush him, especially with Mixon missing time. I think Mixon plays a lot less games than his ADP suggests. And I have no reason to suspect Nick Chubb doesn't play a bunch of games. And even if he tails off, kind of like J.K. Dobbins did, he can still get there with the random touchdown because I think he's going to be the favorite for the goal line. And if he sees more pass work than we think for the first part of the season, that's going to boost his floor and ceiling. So ultimately, I think it's a strong click. I'm just not taking as much of him right now because I'm trying to chase these guys I have a lot less of. But Chubb is going, where's it going? So Chubb in this one goes 168. I think I'm still easily clicking that. And I probably in my ranks have him, right in this, tier of guys. He's undervalued for what he can offer if he's more efficient than the Bears think, and people bearish on him. The offense, the goal line roll. I mean, like, volume is king. We've seen dog shit running backs smash. LeGarrette Blount and Jamal Williams just kept seeing goal line work on overachieving offenses and paid off. So no reason Chubb can't do that. Especially if you're going to see a lot more work than we think. And I think Mixon misses a lot more time than we think. If Mixon misses the full fucking season, Chubb probably needs to rise 30 picks based on what we saw in preseason week 2. Now, if we continue to see that, I'm bumping him up high. If that falters and Woody Mark starts mixing in a little bit more, Dane Pierce starts mixing in a little bit more, coaching staff starts being like, we think we're going to, okay, well then fine. Totally get it. But I think the Texans are kind of already showing their hand as we get leaked information from the insiders about Mixon's injury. And it's also tracking with what the doctors expected, which is like, hey, as he gets more reps and as he gets further away from his injury, he's going to look better. And we got bearish news about how he looked and how he wasn't cracking the second level 3-4 weeks ago. But now we've heard nothing of the sort since, and he's looking good and okay. A lot more juice than we thought. So worthwhile to keep in mind. But that is going to do it for us here on the Fantasy Sanctuary. Appreciate everybody joining us today. Don't forget to hit the like on your way out. Every little bit helps. Leaving comments after are huge. So I'd love to hear your hot takes. Who are you not touching going into draft season? Who are you absolutely making sure you are stealing away from your league mates that will not take away from you? Is it Charbonnet? Is it Walker? Is it Trey Henderson? Is it RJ Harvey? Is it Nick Chubb? Y'all all make this so much easier to do chatting with y'all. Ooh, spicy, Harry, spicy. And hard to blame you on Reed. So leave them in the comments right after I hit in stream. Every little bit does help. Appreciate y'all so much. Y'all are the bomb. Shout out Robert. Shout out Al Boogie, Harry, Charlie, Bonsai Bets, Andy B, Chris the Candyman, and Spindles jumped in early. FK Coolers, Thad. Y'all are all real ones. We appreciate y'all. Have a great Monday. Steve as well. Shout out. Check out all the fun streams going on. Good luck in your drafts. If you have questions, leave them in the chat after the stream ends. We answer all your questions as well. We're here to help you win every single league and every single draft you're in. Appreciate y'all. Have a great Monday.